We call the April meeting of the Borough Planning Board to order at 7 o'clock on April 1st. All present on the board and results accounted for. I have two correspondence, which I will graciously show you. This is a letter from the Arnolds related to the 9W warehouse and the hotel on West Main Street, the hotel being the subject, so I'll pass that over to you. And I have a letter from the Orange County Department of Public Works, which basically talks about the Scorpion Art Center sign, which we discussed and approved. It's just a matter, of course, that they sent us the letter. So with that, I'll send it over to you. Okay, Ken? Would you send it over there? Thank you. And with that, did everyone receive the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. As usual, the professional job is granted. Anyone have any problems, objections, or comments? I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All there?
Aye.
Unanimous so far. Resolutions, we may have one resolution after the public hearing. Discussion, we have two items for discussion. First and foremost, the Star Warehouse. Dominic, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, Kristen has prepared a draft finding statement for the Star Warehouse project. This is following on the October approval by the board, where you conditionally approved the final environmental impact statement. And the conditions were that they satisfy the board's consultants regarding some additional information that needed to be tabulated and included as part of the circulated version of the FEIS. I believe within the last 10 days, they have managed to circulate the FEIS, and so the next step in the process will be for the board to consider the draft finding statement. And the finding statement is really a document that summarizes not only the procedure that happened up until this point, but more importantly, the mitigation measures that are required for the project to move forward. So this is an important document. It is the conclusion of the secret process. And after this, the applicant will be in a position to finalize their plans and seek conditional approval at that time. They're not asking for that yet, but they would be entitled to ask for that after the adoption of the finding statement. My suggestion to you all is that if you have any questions about the draft tonight, we can certainly talk about them. But it's in front of you for informational purposes only. My recommendation would be to review it and potentially adopt it or a modified version of it at your meeting.
In the next month or so, and then discuss it and approve it next month?
Yes.
Okay. I would tend to agree with Dominic. We could ask Kristen questions of it next month. I think that'd be more appropriate if everyone's, unless anyone has any questions now. Go around. Everybody's satisfied. I have a copy here if anyone wants to take it, but I'm sure you're interested. So we'll do that and be prepared to ask questions next month if you have any, Kristen. Well, you're doing a great job, always. Thank you. Okay, with that, we have a second discussion item.
Yes.
Dominic would be asking you for sort of informal and brief update on the Virginia Woods project.
Yes, and so I wanted to bring the board up to date. At the March work session for the planning board, the BG Woods project appeared, the consultants appeared. And they have not submitted these plans yet to the town, but they did discuss changes that they are anticipating to pursue in connection with that project. If you recall, this is the project that's surrounding the Cornwall High School. The current version that's been pending is subject of an environmental impact statement. It already has an adopted scope. We went through the scoping process for the public hearing at the high school, and you have given clear guidance to the applicant as to what they need to study for that project to move forward. And it involves, as proposed, 330 units of multifamily housing.
That was the project as proposed.
Correct. Correct. So at the March work session, the applicant appeared and they made substantial changes to the plan, which, as I said, haven't been submitted yet to the town, but they intend to submit them. And so one of the changes is they've now added an additional 90 units of senior housing. So the overall unit count would go from 330 units to 420 units. The senior housing is an additional special permit that will be required for the project. It has
It was special permit part of the original application,
yes, sir, for multifamily housing.
but not for senior housing.
Well, no, they had not applied for senior housing.
Okay.
They're now proposing to add senior housing as an additional special permitted use.
Okay.
They are proposing to change the access point from Dragon Drive to the old railroad bed, which also goes out to Route 94, which connects the property through the back and around the
That would be
back.
opposite the old Edinburgh Lodge.
Yes,
That's not the same access point as originally proposed.
no,
Right,
okay, no, it is different. They would propose using Dragon Drive for emergency access only. They changed the height of the buildings, so they went from 2 stories to 3 stories. They changed the configuration of the buildings as well, and there was a number of other changes. And when they presented these, I just wanted the board to be aware that with those substantial changes, my response to them was I believe that this would be a new application.
It's a new project.
Well, it's a different layout, it's a different access point, it now has seniors as part of it, it has increased unit count, substantially increased unit count, and a number of other changes. And the applicants and the applicant's consultant disagreed with that position, but I just wanted to inform the board and see if you all had any comments or concerns regarding that.
I think, Dominic, the board probably has strong comments and concerns about that, because it does seem like the same project to me, but Steve, you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm in agreement, that this does appear to be a new project.
Okay, good one. John?
I agree.
Vera?
Yes,
Yes.
the changes that are being presented at this time, yes, that is not what we reviewed.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, I mean, the magnitude.
Yeah.
The changes seem substantive to me.
Yeah,
This is a new project, and I think that the board stands behind your opinion, that's a new project, and whatever that constitutes, it should move forward on that basis.
So I will notify them of that and they confirm that position that we took at the work session. And we'll see, it'll be up to the applicant as to whether or not they want to make that application.
It's up to them, but there's no discussion or dispute about the fact that it seems to be a new project.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, we have a public hearing scheduled at 7:07. The Perry lot line change, you're up. Just like 2 minute, maybe 1.5 presentation, and then we'll open it to public. If I might, are there members of the general public here for this public hearing? What we're about to have? Looks not, okay. The board is very familiar with the project, and we also have had preliminary resolutions prepared, and I don't see members of the general public wishing to be heard, but you can turn and face the general public, even though there doesn't appear to be anyone here. We are familiar, and the board has discussed this at
And my name is Charles May. I'm here this evening representing the Perry lot line realignment. The project is located on 147 Main Street. The actual location is in the SR2 zone, which is a residential, it's a 1.63 acre project. We have a lot line realignment whereby the requirement is 30,000 square feet and one lot is 31,881 square feet. The other one is 30,244 square feet. We have been to several workshops with the town to actually fine tune the project, and we have been to one planning board meeting, 2 planning board meetings actually, so we're here tonight for a public hearing.
Perfect. Okay, with that, are there any members of the general public wishing to be heard with regard to this project? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing at 7:10.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, close. With that, I asked, Kristen, you prepared a neg deck, I gather?
Yes, I did. This is an unlisted application under seeker. Essentially, a lot line change, but your code doesn't actually have one of those. So it's essentially transferring 23,746 square feet of land from lot 2 over to lot 1 for the construction of an additional dwelling unit, two-family dwelling unit. We prepared a negative declaration. Happy to go through any of those reasons if you'd like to, but they're all pretty standard. They're the same ones as board sees for most of these applications. But I can go through it if you'd like.
I don't, unless members of the board think it's necessary, I don't see any reason to, but if anyone has any questions? We have discussed this, so I'll ask for a motion for approving the neg deck.
So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, okay, thank you, Kristen. This, okay, with that, Donna, you had a resolution prepared, I gather?
Yes, we did prepare a draft resolution of approval. It has a number of conditions associated with it. Those conditions are that they have to submit all necessary copies of the plans. They also have to submit copies of the proposed deeds and descriptions that would effectuate the transfer of land between the two lots for the review and approval. They also have to pay all fees. They have to secure all necessary permits that they need in connection with the project. And they also have to pay a rec fee for one new residential lot, which is being created as part of the overall project.
Okay, with that, all right, is that okay? Okay, with that, I'll ask for a motion
So
to
moved.
approve, is that, second? Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous consent, great. It is signed, sealed, and delivered. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yes, okay, with that, thank you, Harry. Thank you. Okay, with that, I have 2 girls, 1 boy holding company.
Good evening. I'm Ralph Mastromonaco. I'm an engineer representing Keith, the owner.
Okay.
I know you've seen this project before. We did have comments from Sean and we went through those, and essentially it's basically the same project we've always seen, except now I think all of the sort of issues have been fixed. We did submit complete plans of this project about 2-3 weeks ago. If there are any comments on that, I'd be happy to take them. But just to let the board know, we've done a complete, you all have the plan, so I don't know, just belabor this, but we did, a lot of traffic work, turning traffic turns to see how fire trucks would get in and out. Of course, the main thrust of this project is there's a gravel parking lot in the back, and that's going to be paved. For that additional paving, we did a stormwater report that submitted that as well. We did a lighting plan, and one of the, I guess, changes that we made on this plan was that on the adjoining property, which we also control, we have 2 easements that we're going to use for this project. One easement is for drainage, so we don't have to go out to Main Street. The second easement is we're relocating the refuse area to the adjoining piece of property, for which we've noted we will need an easement, and those would, be forthcoming as a condition of your approval. Other than that, we've seen the place.
Okay, with that, thank you. I'll go to Kristen.
Thank you. We did have a couple of comments on the plans, kind of, they are certainly coming along, and they're in better shape than they were. A few comments on the bulk table still, which this application has received its variances, so it's not what needs a variance, but what has already obtained a variance. We did obtain a variance for lot area. Existing front yard is inconsistent with what it was on the previous plans. I think that that's just a typo, but some kind of minor things like that. Floor plans have been revised, and then we've spent a lot of time at this board talking about the floor plans versus the site plans and how those things relate. The floor plans have been revised to match the project narrative and the parking now, so I think that that's all been squared away. The landscaping plan now shows only spruce trees, so the landscaping plan has been changed a bit because the parking lot now has been kind of squared off, so it's a bit closer to that residential property to the rear. But there is a row of landscaping that's been provided with evergreen trees. Typically, we like to see an additional species and not a row of singular species. But again, that's a pretty minor comment, just needs to be revised. The plantings are on the site plan, we need to see the standard landscaping details that are typically on the site plan. Those are our only site plan comments. This project is unlisted under seeker. We've had a few discussions we've had some discussions here with respect to seeker. I think that we were waiting, this board was waiting for drainage and utility analysis to be completed, which we will, with the leads right into Sean.
Very good. Thank you, Krista. Good. Sean?
Sure, so, I agree with Chris, and the plans have substantially been, improved since last time we've seen this. However, I do have two related concerns that remain with regards to fire access and the need for the 26-foot lane from both entrances to get to the building. That is not achieved to the rear after Clinton, that's currently proposed. And with that, the need for the 26-foot width may impact the need for a SWIP, and that will have to be addressed, I think, and discussed for timing for a public hearing.
Very good. Thank you. We'll have some questions on that, I do believe. Steve?
My only initial comment here, I understand these are a series of revised plans, is that, Mr. Monaco, do you hold a surveying license also?
No.
Okay, so, my point being is that, there seems to be a lot of surveying information on the plan. And this board, we have agreed that, in that particular case, I would prefer to see either a seal of the surveyor or a note from him, granting permission to use his work for the plan.
The work was based on a license, a survey.
Yes, and I understand that, but there's nothing on the current plans that indicate that.
Very good, thank you, Steve. John? Very good.
I referred to our engineer, and I do have concerns in regards to the stormwater, in regards to the fire access. There's quite a few questions that have not been answered, so those would be my concerns at this time.
Your concerns translated to a readiness for public hearing.
Not at this time.
Thank you. Bill?
I have the same concerns as Mary Beth. I think that some of the things on fire protection and in the storm drain, I have some concerns of not being met yet, especially the length of the truck. You know, when you start talking about widths and space and dimensions, et cetera, the truck that we use is a 44-foot truck versus a 30, and I believe you have 30 on there. And it's very tight. In that particular. I understand how important this is. This is a great project for the town, and I really appreciate all the additions you've done. But when it comes to safety, and all the people that would be in there, I guess I'm really a stickler on fire, because it's important.
Very good, thank you, Bill. Bill?
I feel the same way they do.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I guess that we've had this discussion a couple times with this board before. When Sean talks about the 26 feet, I get pretty hung up on that because my feeling is always that in the event of a structure fire, you have to have a piece of apparatus that's arriving at the same time that another piece of apparatus or an ambulance or police vehicle is departing. So you have a vehicle arriving and departing through the same chute. And when I look at the access from Clinton Street, I see a 12-foot easement back there. And so in the event that a piece of apparatus was arriving for a structure fire and an ambulance was attempting to depart the site, it would be impossible for that ambulance to depart the site. And that's exactly what the code's designed to do. And I think for a structure of this size, 50-some rooms in there, I think that's something that needs to be resolved. And I don't think that the easement currently exists, at least as I'm reading the plan. The easement appears to be a 12-foot easement, and that's insufficient for that requirement. Sean, I was wondering also, did they have 26 feet curb to curb coming off Main Street?
They do not.
Okay, so currently no entrances meet the 26-foot requirement. And I think that needs to be demonstrated so that the public can fully analyze the situation, especially for public safety. Additionally, we have a letter from, and I know this is late breaking news, so we have a letter from Pat Hines, the chief of our fire department, which has some important information inside of it, including something about the length of the trucks, which are shown in the fire access analysis. And that would certainly need to be straightened out to prove that fire access was actionable here. And this triggers potentially a more significant concern, which is that in the event that the Purdy's Lane needs to be improved, especially in the vicinity of Clinton Street, I feel like we could trip over the 1 acre SWIP problem. And then there would have to be a demonstration of how that stormwater detention and or retention would be achieved on the site. Because currently the site doesn't show any significant stormwater detention. So,
Oh, it does.
I mean, there's some, but it would be a very different situation if we're over an acre of strips.
But just so you know, it is, it's like 8/10 of an acre now. We're well under the acre.
Yeah, I think it shows 0.85 currently, but that doesn't include any improvements to Purdy's Lane whatsoever. And I wonder about the trafficability of Purdy's Lane as it currently stands. So I'm with our engineer on that I think that needs to be demonstrated, to demonstrate that the plan is workable on this site.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, also, just to follow up on what you said there. There is that existing 12-foot right-of-way, but there is another right-of-way of record, which does grant a 50-foot wide width there. But my concern in dealing with this 26 feet that we're looking at is that right-of-way is already partially compromised by an existing structure. And the right-of-way itself is further compromised by a driveway and parking area for that residence. And I think that it's not shown on this plan, but I think that will become pertinent and important to show, especially when we're dealing with this 26-foot width. Because to get the pavement width at 26 feet there, I have no doubt you would be encroaching on that driveway.
I guess it does show two right-of-ways here. It says a 12-foot wide easement and right-of-way, and then right next to that, it says easterly side of 50-foot wide right-of-way.
Exactly.
So I'm now confused about which right-of-way is being exercised in this access and what both of those right-of-ways provide.
Well, I did look up the 50-foot right-of-way because I was curious about that also. And what that right-of-way was created when the Berniker family owned both pieces of property. And essentially grants the right to access the larger piece through the 50-foot. Again, my concern is that full right-of-way width is compromised by a building and an existing driveway and parking area. So I would like to see the location of that driveway and that parking area for that residence.
Well, when we talk about 26 feet, the reason we work with 26 feet is because when a hook and ladder truck sets itself, it opens up its outriggers, and that's where the 26 feet comes from. I don't think it comes through entry unless there's some rule.
Do you have a copy of the letter?
I just
Sorry, oh, okay.
Yeah, so, I think that's where the 26 feet, that's why and the 26 feet is met on the north side of that building. We purposely set that 26 feet.
But at the curb cut to Main Street, it's not.
Well, I don't know if it has to be. Is it a requirement that we?
Yeah, you're talking about the fire code for ladder. Say, I'm looking at it from a site access point of view, and you're looking at it from a ladder setup, or a fighting, sort of firefighting pad and setup area.
Right.
I do not know that the code directly addresses which of those two concerns must be met by the 26-foot access.
My understanding is you need both access, 26-foot wide, unobstructed.
That's my interpretation of the code as well.
Well, which code? See, what we operate on is the building code, fire code.
Correct.
Right.
That's the one.
Right, and so we've looked at it, and I'll go over it with Sean if you'd like, but I think that we meet the fire code building code. There's access on both sides of the building, and we also submitted a variety of smaller drawings, if you see it, so those are all of the access terms.
The truck movements, yeah.
Yeah, so it's there were smaller plans, a bunch of smaller prints, just to really highlight that, given this layout, there's numerous ways that we can get in and out of the site. There's 3 access points on this site. And I don't know if we have the smaller versions of this.
In that view, like, is reviewed, I discussed that being a fireman, that they received, that may review those.
Yes.
So that would have been included in whatever response was given.
Right.
I don't know, did you all get these?
We did.
Yes.
Okay, so on these, studies, we showed fire trucks turning in, all over the place, even smaller, narrower accesses, everything works. I didn't think that there was any violation here of fire.
No, I don't think that there's anything malicious about what you're suggesting at all. I just think that the board is concerned about issues to code, which is what we're here for. And that's all. There's no, we don't think you're trying to pull anything or anything. It's just that we are pretty parsimonious about how we interpret the code, and that's why the questions.
Yeah, I didn't know if you'd all seen the different.
I have one.
Okay,
There was just a question, sir, about is this the scale, the truck size?
yeah, well, this is completely
Yeah,
disconnected.
that the truck was smaller than the actual trucks that would be going in.
Well, what
From
we,
what you hear, what we received as far as the letter, that's all I'm just looking at.
We have a letter from.
We have a letter from the
chief.
fire department. They're concerned about the length of the truck, the scale.
I can't read it right now, but I believe that,
I understand.
I believe we used a 42-foot truck.
The actual Deer's ladder truck operated by the Cornwall Fire Department is 44 feet in length.
Didn't appear to scale to that one.
I'm sorry.
It said the plans didn't appear to scale to that one.
Well,
That's the confusion.
I thought we had from the fire department that they had the Pierce ladder, which was whatever, and we put it on the plan there.
Yeah.
That's the only one.
But, if it's 42 or 44, if we're showing 42 or 44, we're fit, so.
I'm sorry.
If we're showing 42 feet, 44 will fit as well.
It appears to be about 30.
Well, I don't know if you look, you gotta look at the wheels, that's what's different than wheels. So I'll look at it, maybe there's an issue, I'm not sure.
Yeah, again, we want to make sure that we communicate this stuff clearly, and we're basing it on information from our fire chief, so we really, I'm not in a position to argue.
Yeah,
Right, and based on what was submitted.
Right.
That's all. Just one clarification is, something.
Yeah, I think that the board recognizes the significance of the project. I don't think that there's any issue with that at all. But that doesn't translate to any concessions related to safety as Mr. Grilli has suggested. So that's the concern. And there is one other thing that the fire chief pointed out, that he was concerned about does not identify the type of construction. Can you just clarify that? The type of construction for the proposed five-story structure?
Well, I'm not the architect, I have no idea what it is,
Okay, all right, and there's no one here to represent that.
not the architect. But there were plans submitted previously, I believe, to the town.
Okay. These are the impressions based on plans that, Sean, can you answer that?
I can't at this time.
Can anybody here answer that? No. Okay, there we go. So we said, so on that basis, what are we being asked to do? You have comments, you understand that fire truck size issue has got to be addressed?
We can address it very quickly, sort of get to a computer, but I believe what we base it on is the wheelbase. I'm not sure that you can scale it accurately.
Well, what does these fire code base it on? Does that, Sean, you're
26 foot wide and unobstructed. 2 meters.
Okay, but that would, okay.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, my suggestion would be that there's a number of outstanding comments from the board's consultants as well. It's obviously shared by the board regarding the state of the plans. My suggestion would be that many of these may very well be addressed by the applicant, but that they should be addressed by the applicant and then submitted to the board. The goal, I think, of everyone is to get to a public hearing, but we want information, it's been the board's practice to have an application that is ready for public review at that time, so that the public understands what exactly is being proposed and how it either complies with code provisions or does not.
Thank you, and I would tend to suggest that's a very accurate reading of the cards. I think the schedule of a public hearing, would be premature at the moment, without the accurate outline of the information. But I'd like to hear what the board members think individually. Steve?
I agree. At this point, I think we do need some additional information and give the applicant an opportunity to address the comments.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong, except clarification.
I agree, Steve.
I agree.
Very good.
I agree, except, can he somehow communicate with the fire chief so they can go back to small budget?
That would be really great, because I'm not a really good translator on this stuff. So it would be helpful if you had direct contact with, is that normal, Sean?
They have it, yeah, and I think Gary is important because he's the fire code official.
Yeah, that would be really good. Again, the primary concern of the board on this is the safety, as Mr. Rizzoli so wisely pointed out. And I would not ex post facto want to have to deal with that kind of issue, and I'm sure you understand.
No problem.
So if we can do that, that would be very, very good. We can attest to substantial progress in the plan, the process, and the fact that this stuff is a great improvement, and it's according to our consultants and our board members that it's shown significant improvements. If that means, I know it doesn't mean anything to you, get bricks and mortar in the ground, but it's something you need an attestation to the fact that the project is substantially moving forward. I think that we would provide that. But we can't provide any approvals until the issues are satisfied.
Would it be appropriate to say we'd like to look at it again in May, or next May meeting? Hopefully, it's always been resolved. And we can make a decision on it.
Yeah, I do. What do you think, but, okay?
Thank you. So you can schedule us back?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
But it would need to be submitted, and you could also attend another work session if they can find that fruitful.
And I and probably the mayor will be at that work session, and we'll do everything we can to expedite the discussion. It's just a discussion of clarification. I don't think there's anything significant. So,
Okay, well, I'll take a look at the comments and we will definitely submit and clarify any comments comments.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, agenda. Thank you for that. 29 Clove Farm.
Good evening to the board. My name is Eric Fred, representing the owner, 29 Clove Farm LLC, and we're seeking residential site plan approval.
You are an architect,
Yes,
lawyer, architect.
Yes, architect.
Very good. Oh, you're an architect.
So we're going to be unpacking quite a bit of information on this site. It's a residential site in the ARR district with a scenic ridge overlay. It also has a jurisdiction of the Orange County Land Trust as well. Each of the scopes of work I'll kind of unpack as we go along, and I'll say which ones have approvals, which ones are under review. But right now, we have submitted the same package of drawings and documents to the Orange County Land Trust. We have some that have been approved and some that are waiting further comments from their April 11th meeting.
So you're anticipating needing some of the property to Orange County Land Trust?
No, it already is needed under Orange County Land Trust.
Okay, good.
We were just going through because of the scope of work was deemed their information there.
Yeah, if I may, it's subject to a conservation easement. And so there's restrictions that the Orange County Land Trust, has some ongoing jurisdiction over what happens on this particular.
I'm very familiar with them. Good. Thank you.
All right, so I'll try to do my best to explain. Again, it's 185 acres. We have access on Clove Road to Clove Farm Road, and we run on the south end of Otter Kill Road, and there is an access for Tolson Place for the east portion of the property. The owners are proposing to reuse some existing footprints of buildings, demolish some, also reusing the footprint, and change of use of some buildings as well. Again, most of them are for accessory to the dwelling or accessory to the residential. We have also submitted a documentation to the board regarding handicap accessibility and if it's public or private, and we've deemed that this does not require handicap accessible access to the site due to the lack of numbers for employees under the 10 or 15 threshold. We also, this is a private residence, and this farm will stay as agricultural and substantial for sustain the goods and the stuff grown within the farm. Private to stay private. No public, no commercial is the main conclusion. That is the Keen and Beam document, early part of the submission. I'm going to take a chance to look at the narrative that we submitted. There's quite a few buildings on the site, and if I can direct you guys to everyone to the third or fourth page, which says property inventory narrative of 29 Clove Farm Road LLC.
On my front page, it says who's social attorney, and I'm worried.
Gotcha. If I can approach and show you the document, perhaps. Beyond need and beyond EFA. Yes, there it is.
Okay, let John help me.
Okay.
It's definitely not consultant. It says revised March 19th.
Yes.
I have it, okay. Versus artist studio, yes, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Artist Studio Barn. We're starting from the west portion of the property and moving east. This currently right now is a hay barn. The footprint will remain. We're planning on demolishing this building and rebuilding a artist studio within that space. I'll show you perspective as we get to each portion. So we're staying very vernacular with the architecture. We are increasing in height around 2.5 feet to 2'9" from the existing building. It will require a septic system, which we have done our perk tests and deep hole tests. We have a septic design as well, which is also in your submission for your review. This is planned to be a 3-studio area. This is a 2-studio area where the owner uses in different mediums of art the need to keep certain types of work separate, so there's lack of contamination from the activity that's occurring. On the third bay, the west side of the property, of the building, there is a area where there's a kitchenette, an area to dine, so families and friends could have a small gathering as well. Coming back to the site, items 2 and 3, there's no work. It's considered the farmhouse and the chicken house. These were deemed names by the owners, but they are operated by or occupied by property managers and animal care managers. And in the center of the property is a original dairy barn. This is, again, we're not touching the footprint. We're planning on rehabilitating the structure. It's an old barn that's been left to its time, and we're going to need to repair it engineering and structurally. And our plan is to have this accessory to the dwelling and be a workshop for that. Welding, wood shop, metalwork, etc. A lot of the activity, which I'll come down further to the east, a lot of the activity that's happening at this workshop dairy barn will be transported to that direction where there's more agricultural equipment and machinery in that direction. Item 5 is the main house, moving again to our east. And item 6 is the painting studio. This is a building that is not part of the master plan. This is an open building permit. We're hoping for a C of O shortly this week or so. It is currently under construction and soon to be complete. Second page of that document, the narrative. We're heading to the ceramic studio. This was formerly the kennel. It's a dog kennel on the property. Again, accessory to the dwelling, and be a ceramic studio. Hand spinning of clay, creating art in that respect. There's kiln units, there's clay storage as well for all of the activities and works there. I'll jump to a perspective of that area as well. We will be increasing the footprint, proposing to the existing portion of the kennel makes up this white portion of the property. There's a zigzag shape, a Z shape, that connects to a original garage of storage of lawn equipment. This will be our kiln area and storage and mixing room and electrical needs. So the extension is going to the east of the area, so the white is indicated as the new. Again, we try to keep it lower than the existing roof. There is plenty of damage in this garage area that we'll rebuild the roof and extend that line as well. Going back to the studio, and we're at number 8. Back to the narrative, excuse me. We have the reading room. This is a new building near to the east of the kennel/ceramic studio. This is a 2-story structure. This is a little bit of the artistic direction. It's inspired by a cluster of trees. It is an area for the owners to store many of their books and act as a library and a reading area for the clients. This is inspired by, again, clove trees to inspire relaxation and a time to reflect and read. Number 9 is the pool house. It's nearby this location as well. Currently, there is a small building for storage on the property where we're proposing this work. It enlarges the footprint, enlarges the pervious area. It is for indoor, outdoor dining at the pool, small kitchen, small sauna, small bathroom and shower for accessory to the dwelling and accessory to the pool. 10 and 11 are agricultural stables, Quonset huts, storage, no work is to be done. Item 12 is the gravel driveway. This is an improvement of an existing agricultural pathway. Most of the conversation has been in this area for the workshop, the pool, the kennel, and so on. There is an existing needing improvement road to access the western portion of the property. This will be gravel based, it will be swelled, controlled, and again, this will be the main access for agricultural vehicular traffic only. This bypasses farm equipment needing to go on auto kill and coming off of Tolson. Finally, the last building, the agricultural building. This is an 80-foot by 120-foot metal building. Its purpose is to house many of the equipment that's needed to use this farm, store hay, and store the many works of art the owners have been creating for on site. The second floor has a mezzanine purpose, again, for more storage for agricultural and art needs. The main section has a workroom. There are hands that work on the property for working on land, working on the animals, managing the property. And this is be the area where they could take breaks, have a kitchen, have a bathroom, stuff like that. On the engineering side of the property, we have had MHE, it's not a name, MHE engineering. They've been out to inspect our deep hole tests, our percolation tests for areas that have septics. Areas of septic area are the agricultural building, the art studio barn, the kennel / ceramic, and the pool house. So there's 4 locations of new septic. We have also submitted a partial sediment control plan. We were waiting for, since our submission for jurisdiction or interpretation of a SWIP that's required. We fall under 5 acres of disturbed area for agricultural, and we are under 1 acre of area disturbance for residential. So from that, Dean interpretation from his office, that we don't need a full SWIP, but a sediment and erosion control. We have the beginnings of that, but we didn't continue that document since we didn't know if we needed a full SWIP. I think that's what we're covering. I think that's what we have. Thank you.
I myself am fairly familiar with the property. I used to play tennis there 50 years ago. The John Deere here didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I go up there.
That tennis, on the tennis court. And I know the rabbit, that tennis court, I'm a little concerned about that.
It's there, and it's still, the fence is still there.
That was a very long time ago. That's good memory. Okay, with that, thank you very much. Excellent presentation. Kristen, do you have any comments?
Sure, thank you. This property is in the town ARR zone as well as ridge preservation and Scunnamunk agricultural scenic overlay zones. That is why this applicant is before you. Typically, this board would not be reviewing residential developments. You would not typically review agricultural buildings, especially when they're just private agricultural developments. This application is before you for ridge preservation overlay special permit. The regulations of this Scunnamunk agricultural scenic overlay do not apply. They typically apply to subdivision. So that will set aside for now. In terms of zoning, the barns are all permitted accessory. Obviously, barns are permitted as accessory uses in agricultural zones, and no bulk dimensional requirements are associated with agricultural uses. But we do need to know the setback to the nearest property line for the new pole barn. That there is a requirement that those accessory structures be at least 50 feet from property lines. So that, probably one of the only site plan real comments I have, but I just tried to unpack this because this is the first time that the applicant's here from a zoning perspective. All structures in ridge preservation require a special permit. The applicant did provide, as you saw, not only architectural renderings of all of the structures, both expansions and new structures, but also they provided a map that shows, photos of the site from various viewpoints. I bet you didn't print that one though, right? Okay.
We took from both the trail, Scottish Trail, and also from any roads surrounding the property.
Great, so the ridge preservation regs say from public vantage points, so it wouldn't necessarily be like what it looks like, although they did provide renderings of what it looked like on the farm itself. But the objective of ridge preservation is to protect views from public vantage points, specifically, of course, from the public parkland and trails and the very scenic areas that are also within that ridge preservation overlay. At this time, I think that the board should probably take a look at that map, because ridge preservation does require public hearing. And I think, absent any objections by Sean, I think that we could probably move to set a public hearing for the ridge preservation. But I just wanna make sure that the board, doesn't believe that any viewpoints are lacking, or any additional photographs, because that's something that you might wanna have kind of all compiled, for the public hearing.
They're the last 2 pages of that package.
Right. So this is the first time we're seeing this.
That's
So if
correct.
there were additional viewshed impacts that we were concerned about, then this would be the first time the applicant's hearing about our
Yes.
desire for an analysis from those viewpoints.
Yes, yeah, I would just want, if there's gonna be a public hearing, I want the applicant to be able to go out and grab additional photos if that's required,
Right.
or offer any additional information you may want.
Yeah, I mean, given the scope and the number of viewsheds here, it'd be typical to see more than what's provided on RP1 for that analysis. I mean, I'm not clear on exactly where the structures are, what the bulking is, what the proposed finishes are, all of that. I mean, I've seen a lot of that, but not everything. So,
I'm not sure I object to the scheduling of a public hearing for that purpose, though, because again, judging by the property itself and the quality of work, I don't know, and that's just really that much of a significance to it. It's my opinion, but I'll defer to the rest of the board on that.
yeah, sorry, I jumped that line.
No, there's a lot of information, there's obviously a lot of buildings, and a lot of information. The architectural drawings that were provided do identify floor area, identify new floor area versus existing floor area. They identifies roof height on all the buildings. I believe the 2 new buildings have heights of 28 feet, 6 inches, and 23 feet, 7 inches. Those, probably that 28.6, that's the reading room that you saw. It's
Yeah,
a
the
very.
ridge elevations are lower than we typically see for these types of reviews. So that's very
Absolutely.
positive. That's a very positive thing.
Right, and I think, and the applicant kind of took that into consideration right from the very beginning in their planning process. So those are the roof lines you're dealing with. Again, 28 is probably the highest, and it's a very, very small structure, it's also very conveniently. But I know that you have a lot of information there, but that does, all those architectural documents that you have building materials, show color, roof height,
Is there limits of disturbance now?
on the grading plan, you have limits of disturbance.
Further into the package, there is colorized,
Right, I saw some of these. But what I didn't see was a note on these, like CS 401. I didn't see a note saying limits of disturbance and calling it out specifically and something that would be.
I believe it's called out in a note. on the
Maybe
plan.
I'm finding the wrong, because again, there's a lot of material, so that's why I'm asking the question. I'm asking, not saying like, maybe not make it an exhaustive search of every.
The disturbance is around 1.5 acres.
Right, no, more talking about limits of tree clearing. Right, so the limits of tree clearing would be germane to the special permit for the viewshed.
Yeah, that's correct. The tree clearing that's proposed, generally the area of disturbance are generally all in areas of previous disturbance. Eric, can you point out at least the existing tree line on the site plan?
Sure. For the area of disturbance around the agricultural building, the access road that comes into the new building, that's the most tree disturbance. It's about 6 to 8 trees, measurable, identified trees that will be taken out.
Do a subdivision on the side of the property.
We did, I believe, yeah, a couple of years ago.
There's two lots here.
So actually at the workshop, just jogging my memory, at the workshop, you discussed that you were working on identifying those trees, that's still currently still underway?
progress, yes.
Okay, so yeah, the applicant is aware that the town recently passed a tree preservation law, and they're working to kind of meet the requirements of that. They were identifying trees that are gonna be cleared, by species and size and all of those things, and working on, and looking at the trees in that area. The existing, the tree line that, kind of the important tree line, the one that is along the southern end of the property, which kind of leads itself into Stony Mountain State Forest, that is not going to be touched, I don't believe. Right, and I get into that.
I was looking for the note or call out on the submission that pointed to that specifically.
The grading plan did show a list of disturbance, but I couldn't tell you where exactly the note was.
Did you identify the land trust, property,
It's the entire property.
say?
It's the entire property. Yeah.
Yes, it's a conservation easement.
On the whole property.
Yes. With restricted use.
For the small portion that's on the east side of the property.
Right.
I don't believe that's part of that. No.
little lots are not permitted.
Alright,
Just wanted to
So you did receive in your packet a letter from the Orange County Land Trust. They have approved of the ceramic studio, I believe, and they're still reviewing, the remaining plans, so I think that's another item that's kind of still to come.
The workshop and the ceramic studio has been approved.
Okay.
After April 11th, we'll have comments and official letter from Orange County Land Trust.
we have a letter here from Jim along with it.
There's
I
a
don't think it was from Jim,
letter from Chris, and
from the head of a particular, one of the committees, the development committee.
and that was regarding the ceramic studio.
Okay. Well, with that, so we're just talking about design reservations stuff. And that would be the purpose of the public hearing, correct?
Correct.
So does anyone have an objection to scheduling one?
But I mean, I remain with that. I don't see the limits of clearing called out specifically. I mean, if somebody can point it to me, that would be great. I just saw this, 2 weeks ago. It's the first time it arrived at my desk, and so, I would like to see also a couple of additional viewpoints looked at.
Well, could that be incorporated into the information for the public hearing? I don't see any reason why.
And also, how is power being run? So I have a series of questions.
Go ahead.
How is power being run to the new barn that's in the eastern section of the property? I did notice some solar panels that were in there that were pretty much on the east side, which is right towards Scunnamunk.
You're correct. Answer the question about electric, we have the electrician and a surveyor currently mapping that direction. We're planning on sending it out to the new building, following the access road, adjacent to infrastructure and disturbance. And the only other new electric is the hay barn, the artist studio barn on the far side, which has direct access from the existing poles, underground.
You're talking new poles all down the road to the new barn.
Well, buried, this will be buried,
Oh, you'd be buried.
yes.
Okay, that's great.
To answer the question about the solar, that was an original idea for the owners. They investigated solar panel or solar energy, and they stopped that. So
Okay, because those are highly reflective surfaces
Correct.
typically.
And it is facing away from both public roads, but from the ridge, it could be possible. From the
But
trails.
you're not doing it anyway, correct?
Oh, okay.
We'll take that off from the.
That answers a significant question. And also, Mr. Chairman, that's kind of potential conflict, but not, I don't think it's a conflict, but I just thought I would state that I've been doing significant work across the road on the state park land adjacent to the trestle with the Open Space Institute developing a trail system there. You may have seen a bridge go up there about a year ago. I was tightly involved with that. We'll be doing another one just about 500 yards further to the east of there this coming spring. So I just thought I would say that we're doing that. And as part of that, OSI is developing a new trail which will run up the, from, the existing parking area on Otter Brook or Otter.
Kill.
Yeah, Otter Kill Road there. There's going to be a trail running up there that's part of the existing state park plans, which will have significant public views for, I hope, many years to come, that will pass underneath the trestle up above there, and then down to meet the bridge that I just spoke about. And so that's a viewpoint that I think, at least I would be interested in knowing what's gonna be seen from that viewpoint. And the train itself, I think there's no requirement for us to evaluate from the train itself. I mean, even that's a public. I can't think that that's essential. Yeah.
May I ask about the potential trail? Is there some type of mapping that's already been done, or?
Oh, yeah, I believe they're gonna execute that project this summer, is the intent, and it's in close coordination with the Palisades Interstate Park Commission, and if you'd like, I'd be happy to put you in touch with people who can provide you with the.
I think the question is like, where would you like the applicant to take a photo from?
I think you'd have to look at at the contours of where that trail runs and get to the high point on there and look from there.
I think you could probably provide that at the next public hearing.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fair. Does that satisfy you? Lynn?
Yeah.
Okay, and those are very good points, by the way. But you can,
Well, and I think overall, the project, please don't get the wrong impression, the project overall is very sensitive to the natural setting there, which was the intent of this.
Very well taken.
I think you're doing well.
That's good. We're good? Yes. Okay, with that, any comments from the board? Steve?
No.
John? Sarah? Bill?
You're gonna schedule a public hearing?
I'm gonna ask in a minute. Like, are you done?
Yeah, no, I'm done.
Great. Okay, with that, I'll ask for a motion to schedule a public hearing on the next meeting. Second?
Second.
All in favor? We will have a public hearing.
Thank you.
And you will have those photos, perhaps, of that?
Yes, I will have
That'd
to
be great.
connect with someone to find out the direction of the trail and find that.
And I'll be on the squad, please.
Yeah.
Organize that tennis court a little bit. Thank you. Okay, does that sound like, do we have a discussion there? Or we already did the discussion? We did. Okay, well, waiting. Waiting.
Good.
Move that we.
Second. All in